Well, I've been given the green light and we're good to go. My name is Andrew Ferrone. I am the digital advertising specialist here at Symphonic Distribution. And with me here is Taylor and Rebecca from found.ee, which is one of our partners that we have added into our system for everybody at Symphonic to be able to utilize. And I'll give them each a little second here to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Taylor and he can pass it on to Rebecca.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, as Andrew mentioned, I'm Taylor. Joined the found team last year, and my background comes a little bit from definitely the marketing side, but I've worked on the live event side of things for many years, working both with events and festivals and venues, but also with tour marketing for artists. And then, yeah, recently joined the found team and excited to share with you all today a little bit more about the resources and tools to help your digital marketing efforts. I'll hand it off to you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Taylor. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I'm the Director of Operations here at found.ee, and I come from the distribution side of things. So I've worked with folks releasing music for quite a while now, and also joined the found.ee team last year. So I'm excited to kind of talk from that perspective.
All right, so without much further ado, I'm going to allow them to take the lead here and introduce everybody to the found.ee platform. Give us a little idea of what it is, because I'm sure many of you are completely confused as to what it is, how it can help you in your business, and then we can take it from there with some questions that may come from the introduction.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and just give everyone a rundown of the platform and a few of the different tools. We'll go into further detail on them, but just so, like Andrew said, you have an idea of how the platform looks. All right, so you are in my account right now. This is a real live found.ee account here. You can see some of my test ad campaigns. So what found.ee is built on is the principle that artists should own their audience. So as a label or as an artist, a lot of times there are platforms that will restrict your access to your fans. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that you have the tools to grow your audience, that you can talk to them regularly, that you own all of that data. So everything in found.ee is through that lens. So as we start talking about some of the tools, keep in mind that this is all to help build these audiences. So you can see here, this is my total remarketing audience. So the main thing that a lot of folks use found.ee for to start out with is our pages feature. So pretty similar to other platforms, we have these different types of pages. You can do a pre-save page, a link tree, you can do a link in bio. And I'm just going to really quickly demo the setup and show you what it looks like. But if I go here, and we can pull up a page that I have created for a band. Let's see if I can pull this up here. No, that's okay. We can start from scratch. So here are all of our basic page types. This comes through your account that you get through Symphonic. So you can access all of this. You can select what type of page. We've got pre-save. So that's what you're already familiar with. You plug in, use some information, create a page, and your fans can pre-save your release. We've got a music release page where we scan all these different stores to get your links automatically. Timed release, pretty similar to pre-save, except with no pre-save. So on the release date, we scan for all of your links, and then your basic page, which can be your link in bio. So you can really customize these out. So really quickly, if I hit create here, this is what it looks like. Everything is what you see is what you get. So you can put that in here, any type of header description, upload an image. You can even plug in a widget. So this is all extremely customizable. You can add custom buttons. A lot of folks use this widget option to put in a Shopify store. So this is really effective when you have a new release. If you've got new merch that you're releasing with your album, having this Shopify embed, people can actually go through the checkout process on this page. It's very frictionless and it can increase your sales. So really simple. We just ask for a little bit of information. We have multiple actions that a user can take with a single click. So for example, on this teaser, you'll see that there's a place for a track, an artist URL, and a playlist URL. So when someone hits pre-save, they will save the track, follow the artist, and follow a playlist all in one click. So all of these tools are made to be frictionless for fans and super effective to grow your audience.
Rebecca, real quick, I dropped, just so everybody else knows, I dropped a corn example in the chat, so you can see a live page, see some of the customization features, and also see that Shopify embed that Rebecca was referencing as an example as well.
Yeah, and I know for a fact that page has some pretty cool animations. So you can upload animated GIFs for the background and make it a really cool experience. You can also upload animated GIFs for these sections. So if you wanted to, for example, replace a logo or add a custom logo with some cool animations, you can do that. We also have 2-column pages if you want kind of more robust experience for your fans. So all super easy to use. There's a few advanced features here. So you can create a custom experience per location. So let's say, for example, you have lots of fans in Brazil and lots of fans in the United States. You can create a page specifically for Brazil. So you can translate some of the text. You can put in relevant stores for that location, reorder everything, and then have a different page for the United States. And it all lives under one URL. So when somebody's browser says, I'm located in Brazil, they get the Brazil experience. If it says I'm located in the United States, they get the US experience. You can also do a couple other things, add pixels per geolocation. That's getting a little bit into the weeds, so I don't want to go too in depth there. But we have some great tutorials in the works. So we'll have some videos for you very soon if you want to learn more about that. So some of the other options here, we have a link shortener. This is a way to capture your audience data through a link click. If you're familiar with Bitly, it's a pretty similar type of experience, except that you're collecting your audience in your Foundy account. So you can bulk upload these. Let's say you're going on tour and you want to shorten all of the links for every stop on your tour. You can do that here. Or if you are on this page here, in this create links section, you can create your short link here. And there's some similar features. For example, you could say, just like with our pages, I want to send people who are located in this country to this link and everyone else to a different link. We've had people use this for tours. We've had them use it for like a special experience. Let's say in France, you're using a different platform to do your pre-save page, but you still want to collect your Foundy audience. You can do that with these create links. So you can do some other things based on a platform. So what service are people using? So are they on an iPhone? You can send people to Apple Music, very customizable. Typically, you're just going to use it for shortening a URL here. In the other options, we have these embeddable players that you can create. So like I said, we're collecting our audience here, right? So everything we do, we want to use the Foundy pixel, which is proprietary to your account. So if you're familiar with something like Facebook or Google, where you have that cookie, that tracking pixel that's collecting your audience, Foundy works very similarly, and you have access to this pixel in your account. So what you can do with these widgets is paste in your widget code. It will add the pixel to the widget. And then when somebody clicks play, you're collecting that audience. This is really great if you have press coming up and you want to be able to track the plays from that press release. You can say, hey, can you actually use this widget? That'll help me collect the audience, and people have used that to great effect. Other things, if you want to access your Foundy pixels and manage pixels, you can also add any other pixels that you have. So if you do have that Facebook or Meta pixel, you just have to click add pixel, add it here. And every single Foundy link, Foundy player will have that tracking ability as well. You can also set some custom domains. Let's say you have your own website and you want to use that website instead of a Foundy link. So all of our links say found.ee/numbers and letters. You can set up a custom subdomain on your website, give it to us, and then anything you create on Foundy is branded with your website. So
yeah, that corn example that I shared, sorry to interrupt you, Rebecca,
No
in the
worries.
chat is a perfect example of that. They used lnk.cornofficial.com/requiem, I think, for that release. If they didn't have that custom URL, as Rebecca was mentioning, it would just say found.ee/requiem.
Right, exactly. So we also have some email capture modals. This is a way to get email addresses in a unique way versus that newsletter subscribe on your website. That one's a little more complicated and in-depth, so I'm going to skip it for now, but it does exist and you can use it on our premium and power plans. But as we're talking about audiences, this is where all your audience lives. And you can reach this audience through ads, but you can also customize your audiences. So let's say you want to know what your audience is like in LA. So I've created LA fans here, and everyone that we've captured, anyone located in LA, saying, all right, you've got 29 people, and I can customize this here. So I've got my audience name. I can set the rules. So I could say, I want everyone coming from Facebook, everyone coming from Instagram. We always recommend that you use contains rather than equals for this kind of stuff. So if you're using contains and I say facebook.com, this means that any traffic from Facebook is going to be captured in this audience, and I can see the number of people in the audience here. If I'm using equals, it means that anyone coming from the exact URL facebook.com will be captured. So pretty simple, but just something to know. And then you can combine these rules. So let's say you want people from Facebook that are using Chrome browser, people from Facebook that are located in a certain country or city. These can kind of go on and on. So as you're using these tools, as you're building your audience, you've got your pixel installed on your website, you can start customizing this and really kind of building out these audiences that you're really interested in so you can reach these users later. And we also have our ads platform. So really quickly, we're going to go, like I said, in depth in this, but there's a few tools just to be aware of. So when we talk about an HTML5 interactive ad later on, this is what we're talking about. So Foundy has this unique ability to create these interactive ads where wherever this banner is served, I can actually click this playable button. Then it, again, reduces friction. So if I'm on billboard.com and I see this ad, I can play this whole video right here. If I am logged in, let's say you're using a Spotify widget, for example, if I'm logged into Spotify in my browser, I can play the whole track as a stream. So it's a really useful, these are super easy to build. So everything is what you see is what you get again. So I can drag these things around, resize, kind of figure out how I want this to look. There's a couple other different options. So I can say, do I want to do this? Do I want to do kind of one of these skyscrapers? Whatever you want to do, customize it, and upload background images. And these are super, super effective. So we see really great clicks, really great engagements, and lots of conversions on these. So I can show you quickly what this looks like for kind of an unknown band. So here I actually ran an ad for this band Mount Zena. They had a total, I think, of 7 listeners on Spotify when I ran this ad. And you can see here that I targeted websites where the CPMs were quite a bit lower. It's going to reach a lot of people. So for this band with 7 monthly listeners, they got 255 clicks. So these can be super effective because it's setting this stuff up right here for people to listen to and play. And I can see all of the information, my overall results, where this served, the spend and budget, clicks, all of that great stuff. And then in terms of setting up an ad campaign, when we're talking about this later on, this is what the platform looks like. So pretty similar to any other advertisement platform you've used. You select your dates, what your budget is, tells you what your daily budget is. I can target different locations. We have some different domain targeting. So if you're interested in certain websites, we've got all of this here. Our premium targeting is going to be for these really high value websites, really great for branding. So you can see some of these domains here. And I can actually edit this list if I'd like. So you can see Spotify.com, Pace, Pitchfork, Billboard, Pandora, lots of really awesome stuff. If I decide that something really isn't relevant to me, I'm not interested in MauiTime.com, I can remove that domain. And let's see here. Then we've got interest targeting. So if you're more looking to target people that are interested in something versus a specific website, we can do that. So I can say, I want to target people that are interested in music retail. I can do that. So totally up to you. You can choose domain targeting and interest targeting if that fits. So everything is and instead of or, which means that you're not narrowing your audience by adding additional interests. Choose an optimization. If you're choosing premium and interest, this is where you would be able to do that. So you could tell us, I want to basically prioritize interest, or I want to prioritize those domains. You've got your creative. So you can upload or choose your banners, and then it is ready to launch. So super, super simple. And that is the very quick rundown of Foundy. I'm sure there's stuff that I missed, and we can go in further detail, but I want to make sure that we've got time to talk about advertising and maximizing all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think to jump in and add, I mean, taking a step back and thinking about where or why you would want to use Foundy in your overall marketing mix. As you see, there are a lot of tools in the platform that can be customized in a lot of ways, but really thinking about what your overall strategy is, as Rebecca mentioned at the beginning, our goal is to help you really grow and kind of have some sense of ownership on your audience. And Foundy is kind of that digital agency in a box, so to speak, that allows you not only the tools to do that, but then the insights and analytics. So if you're thinking back to the way that I'm sure many of you are marketers on this call, the way that you're growing your audience currently probably includes social media, maybe some paid search between, Google or YouTube as well. So you can utilize the Foundy short links as Rebecca showed you. So if you're thinking different ways that you might use that could be for tour promo. So if you're on the label side, sometimes maybe you're not having those conversations about tour marketing, but if you have those conversations with the management teams to say, hey, we know this tour is happening, we're going to upload, give us all the ticket links for the upcoming tour. You do that bulk upload. And then every time they use one of those Foundy short links and promotions, and somebody clicks on that link, that's building out a remarketing audience. So where would you as a label marketer actually utilize that is that at the end of the tour, you could then target anybody that engaged with your content throughout that tour and remarket to them, promoting, if it's a new release or an album that came out while they were on the road, merchandise that maybe didn't get purchased at the show. So really utilizing these tools, not only in a paid strategy and using our ad platform that we'll talk a little bit more about, but also on the organic side, using those tools and resources, whether it's promoting the upcoming release with our music pages, or it's using the short links as you're promoting stuff. It's a great way to really start to bring all of this stuff into one hub that you can kind of work in and out of daily that supports the rest of your marketing efforts as well. Another kind of thinking about, I have people that ask me often, like, well, I don't know where to get started. And what I would say is it can easily feel like a heavy lift at first glance because there are a lot of tools and features. But I think starting with those short links is really the way to go. We have artists, I shared the corn example. If you were to click through that music page to their YouTube video, in the description of their YouTube video, they then use Foundy short links to direct traffic all across the web. So whether they're sending people to their Instagram page or Facebook page or TikTok, they're using a Foundy short link. The reason they're doing that is that, yes, they're engaging with their YouTube channel, and then they're going to click over and probably engage with whatever social platform, but you're able to capture that audience, that cookie and that click. So then when you're ready to go and actually run a remarketing campaign on the Foundy side, you have that audience data in your dashboard, so to speak. One thing I don't think, Rebecca, you mentioned or maybe necessarily showed them, but many of you are probably familiar with, as I mentioned, Facebook. So think about the account kind of tiered access points being similar to a business manager. So if you have maybe a couple of team members on the label side that have access to Foundy, you can create sub accounts for each of your artists that you can toggle in and out of. So each of those artist accounts has a Foundy pixel. All that data lives within their own account. So you're building it up per artist, but then you also have that ability to cross share those audiences within Foundy as well. So some really strong tools there. And, without getting into too much of the weeds of them, I guess, I would just say the best way to start is to get in there and kind of play around with it, and then obviously let us know or anybody know if you have questions. I think, segueing over to campaigns and obviously talking about promoting your music. I'd love to hear in the chat if any of you, what your current strategies are. Are you only using social media ad buys? Are you doing Google ad buys and keyword search campaigns, or just YouTube videos? Because I think that can dictate a little bit of what we focus on as far as what benchmarks and maybe what your strategies could be or should be. So if anybody does have any kind of first real world examples that you want to drop into the chat, let us know. But I think a good way to really think about this, and Andrew, maybe I'll bring this back to you. When you're thinking about putting together a marketing plan, you're obviously probably thinking about multiple touch points across that fan journey. So, when you're thinking about it for your clients, Andrew, where do you focus your energy first and foremost? Are you looking at creating a music page typically, or, give me an idea from your end, so then we can kind of expand across that if that works.
I always start with their goal. A lot of clients always have the issue with having too many goals for a campaign. They think that, oh, I want to do everything. Well, you can do everything, but do you have the deep enough pockets and the patience to do everything? And usually the answer is no, especially in the independent world. So what is your main focus? Is it to get more streams of your video, more listens on your audio? Do you want more fans on your pages? What is it? Once that is finalized, it's a lot easier to decide what path we take at that point. Because if they're really wanting to focus on their music video, YouTube is usually the jump off point at that point. And then how can I get more people to view what's on YouTube? Well, do I drive traffic from all their platforms to there? Do I need to do all platforms, or is it any particular platform in specific that I can direct traffic from? I typically tell people, if you're trying to drive traffic from a platform, Instagram is not your choice. Instagram is not a good traffic driver. It's a great place for people to see things, engage with things. But if you want to take somebody away from that platform, don't do it from Instagram. Instagram fans are loyal. They like to stick on platform. And if you're going to take them anywhere, take them to TikTok. That's the only other platform I've seen high click-throughs for. If you're trying to get them to listen to your music, just put a player into your ad on the platform and let it ride. And do it for engagement, not for click-throughs, because honestly, that's the best bet to get more ears on your music. Now, when it's coming towards, building and incorporating Foundy into these campaigns, I like using Foundy personally, just because, like you had brought to the attention initially, Rebecca, is those embedded HTML5 players are huge bread and butter to the entire advertising placement platform there. That's something that you can't do with other placements, especially, you can do it with Google AdWords, but you actually have to know what you're doing. And when Foundy has their piece, it's literally just plug and play. You just grab the code from Spotify or from YouTube and just drop it in there and play around with colors. That's really all it is, colors and fonts, and then you're good to go. I mean, it's really not that hard. When you compare it to Google, you have to actually know some coding. You got to think about things like it's more of a headache. And this really takes the technicality of Google banner placements and makes it a lot easier for anyone in the music world. Because really, a lot of us just want to focus on creating music. It's not about, hey, I want to create this in crazy ad funnel that's going to get me all this great information. That's not really what a musician's thinking about. They just want to make sure people hear it. And then when can I get in the studio and start recording again or go back on tour? I think Foundy does a great job of making it so that even if you are an independent musician doing everything yourself, you don't really have to have a digital advertising specialist or an advertising person on your team to get some results for your music when you do a release. And I think that's why it's a great integration here at Symphonic. And it's a good tool to put into any of your existing campaigns, because you get ads on places where you couldn't generally afford to put an ad out of pocket at all. I mean, I know personally, if I were to go after Rolling Stone and say, hey, I want to do an ad campaign with you guys, they say, do you have $50,000 for the next 3 months? And you'd be like, wait, what? No, that's not even feasible. That's half of what I make in a year, or even entirely what I make in a year. No, not even close. So that's where Foundy definitely comes in and steals the show, is because you can actually get on a lot of these platforms that you wouldn't have been able to hear your music on, because you don't have Jay-Z money or Korn money in that sense. So it's definitely a good piece to incorporate in there with your existing traffic campaigns. And it's great for solid awareness, because we all know that those pages and platforms that they target get a lot of traffic, and even just getting eyes and ears on your audio or video is much more beneficial than nothing at all. So I mean, that's my 2 cents. That's typically how I incorporate it into my campaigns and pitch it to every one of our clients. I mean, it's really is a no-brainer, and the low minimums make it just that much more effective to utilize in any independent musician's strategy.
Cool. Thank you for that, for sharing where you found value. I see a couple of folks have commented, and speaking of Bitly, so Rebecca had mentioned our short link tool is very similar to Bitly. You do the same process. It's a very similar process. You can then click into each link that you use, and you can actually see insights and analytics. You obviously saw where Rebecca was sharing that you can then start to segment those audiences out within the remarketing tools as well. I think you alluded to it, but yeah, a couple of people were mentioning how they really like TikTok. So if you're doing a lot of stuff on socials and you aren't using your Foundy URLs, you're missing a whole segmentation of audience to be able to reach them outside of social media. So, heaven forbid that day when Facebook or Instagram is down for 14 hours or whatever it was, we still have the ability to run ads and reach them anywhere they are on the web outside of those social media sites. So we do, we like to say that we can reach about 95, 99 even percent of the web, but obviously there are some websites that just don't allow advertising. And then of course, social media, use your social media sites to reach people there. A lot of times we have clients that will look at Foundy as really a great tool to look at for the ad, specifically looking at it from like a funnel. So if you think about kind of that life cycle journey or that fan journey, you're not necessarily going to sell somebody a ticket or sell somebody a piece of merch on that first touch point if they're not familiar with your sound or your artistry already. So using Foundy for prospecting, targeting those high-end premium websites that Andrew was referencing with like Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, Paste Magazine, you can run a display banner ad. It could be a static or a GIF ad, that's kind of your traditional display banner sizes, or you can create one of these HTML embeds. So you're actually including that YouTube video or Spotify single release. And the value there is that you may, if you're comparing that against social, let me take a step back instead of value. First, if you're comparing against social, you got to remember that you're really taking two different approaches here. With social, your goal is to re-engage people that have already seen your brand. That's the way I approach it. Obviously, you can prospect on social as well, but if you really want to, if you want to reach people where they're already digesting creative and culturally relevant content, would you do that on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, where you're basically between, below grandma's recipe post and then somebody's dance, as they're jumping out the car? Or would you want to do that on a Rolling Stone or Pitchfork or Pace Magazine? And that's where the Found.ee ad platform can help, because when you're introducing new people and trying to garner the attention of these potential new fans, doing that where they're already spending their time on culturally or related content, if you will, is going to make a bigger and better impression than maybe showing up in a Facebook or TikTok feed would. So I would say look at it in that route. I'm seeing a couple other questions come in. The one other thing before we jump to Emily's question here, I would say to make sure when you do use the Found.ee account, pull in those third-party social platform pixels though, because you can tie each pixel for your artist account on Facebook or on TikTok to your artist account on Found.ee. So then that way you're not only building your remarketing audience on Found.ee side, but you're using, anytime somebody clicks those links or go to those landing pages, it's also firing the TikTok pixel or the Facebook pixel or the Google Analytics code that you've imported into your Found.ee account. So I would say that is another important tool, because then you can really build out a cohesive strategy moving forward for reaching people on all the platforms, social and outside of social.
Right. Yeah. And when you embed those pixels, when we're talking about running Found.ee ads for prospecting, you've got your Found.ee pixel, of course, but adding those social pixels like TikTok, you're able to find those people that are already engaged on that platform, and reach them again. So like Andrew was mentioning, when people are on socials, they want to stay on socials, they want to stay on that platform. When they're browsing the web, they're more open to clicking through to different tabs and things like that. So using that as the prospecting option, capturing all those people that are already using these social platforms and then serving them really cool content on that platform is a super effective strategy.
Yeah, we've done some recent kind of digging on the back end for some clients and looking at Google Analytics to really compare, because we do get clients that'll say, well, maybe my cost per link click was $1.30 as opposed to 23 cents on social platforms. But you have to remember that where those clicks are coming from, it's almost like thinking about it as a more qualified lead in a sense. If you're thinking about like traditional corporate marketing, they call them like MQLs, marketing qualified leads. So if you get somebody that clicks through from a Rolling Stone or a Complex, as opposed to Facebook or Instagram, what we're seeing is actually more time spent on websites. So when people click through to that landing page or to your website, as opposed to just a quick click through and then maybe jump and ship from there, we're actually seeing a higher engaged user time. So they're touching multiple pages if it's a website, for example. But I think somebody was asking about like budgets. So Emily, I think it really depends. I mean, you're on the right track. And for those that maybe haven't seen it, it says, what would you recommend as a minimum spend for the music targeted sites we showed to show real impact? $500, $1,000. Imagine anything less isn't far enough reach. A lot of that is relevant on what your flight dates are. If you're only running a campaign for 3 days and you have $500, obviously that's going to be a larger per day spend. So we kind of recommend, I mean, on the low end, if you can do anything higher than $20 per day, then if you go anything lower than $20 per day, you're not going to see, it's going to take the program that much longer to really optimize and learn. And the cool thing about our platform is programmatic advertising. So it's auto optimizing based on the results as it's delivering and getting those results. So, to answer your question, I mean, we see a range of $250, $300, $400 campaigns to, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 campaigns, depending on what the objectives are. If you're running it for a 2-week campaign, I would say something in the $500 range would be a good number to target. Rebecca, you can probably speak a little bit maybe on specifics just because you see more of the operations side, whereas I work on some of that strategy side, but.
Yeah, totally. So I actually just a couple months ago did our 2021 wrap up. So just kind of analyzed the performance of every ad that we ran. How did it go? How much did people spend? That kind of stuff. So what Taylor's mentioning is totally correct. I would focus more on what you're spending per day and per location than a certain dollar amount right off the bat. So if you're looking to run an ad, it's prospecting, you're focusing on some interest targets, maybe max clicks, you're looking at $10 per day per location is the best. So if I'm targeting the United States for a week, I want to make sure that I'm spending at least, what would that be? Like $70 on that ad. If I'm looking at premium sites, then you're going to want to increase that budget to $20, $50 is a lot better. That's just because those are really premium placements, so they cost a little bit more. For example, if you're just starting out, you've kind of got a low budget. So I think this kind of maybe fits into Nathan's question about unknown and emerging artists. So that ad that I showed you for that band with 7 Spotify listeners, I ran that ad for $50. So it was enough time for the system to auto optimize. I was still spending that $10 per day per location. And I chose max clicks, which gives me more wiggle room in that spend. So it really is kind of what's your goal in advertising? How long are you advertising for? And where are you advertising?
Yeah, I think kind of a rule of thumb that we recommend for a lot of our label clients specifically is like looking at what is that full campaign budget, and then maybe trying to set aside, 30% here or there of that budget for Foundy. And then again, thinking about those multiple touch points in that client journey. So if you can fill the top of funnel from Foundy, reaching people on these high end sites, and then maybe until that audience size has grown on Foundy, you utilize your social networks for that remarketing because you've integrated your pixels in. So that's a good way. And I think somebody was asking about like, if it's an unknown artist, what do we recommend? And I guess this was Nathan referencing, making sure I understand this correctly. So if you want to focus on label as a destination for fresh music, as opposed to being known for famous producers. So one way to do that, Nathan, would be to create a Spotify playlist with all of your new artists, and then use that playlist in an HTML5 banner ad. So that way you have multiple artists in this playlist. When that ad shows up on an NME or a Pitchfork or Rolling Stone or whatever we talk about, and remember also, this can be, you can create some custom lists too. So it doesn't have to be all music. So you could target, New York Times and Fox News, and, depending on what your demographic is, you can go outside of the music industry websites as well. But the reason I would use that Spotify embed is because then if somebody's on one of those websites, and I think Rebecca mentioned this, but if they're logged in, if they're a Spotify user, they can literally play that entire playlist while they're still reading the article they're on. So they might see the ad, click play and listen to it. And then that's, again, a touch point. They may not click through that first time and actually go follow or, become like the avid fan, if you will. But the fact that you're introducing somebody to this new artist or this up and coming artist or your label playlist on a high-end premium website just shows that much more value, because the next time they see that brand or that artist, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I think I saw them on Pitchfork, or I think I saw them on Complex, or whatever it is, so as opposed to being like, oh, maybe I saw that on an Instagram story. And I don't say that to like knock Instagram, because I think those are all key components of marketing, but you need to kind of take a step back and also think about how are you reaching people when you can't reach them on social, or if you don't want to reach them on social.
Totally. There's a thing called attribution decay, which is really fascinating, and a colleague of ours brought it to our attention. So basically what it is you can gain trust and legitimacy to your brand through associating yourself with top quality websites. So when people see your ad on Pitchfork, they're not going to remember necessarily that it was an advertisement. They're just going to know that they saw it and it was associated with something that they trust. And that is really helpful when you're thinking about prospecting. So let's say you're trying to prospect on socials. your advertisement might show up between people arguing about politics, maybe just somebody's update about their life. So with those associations, like if it's near something negative, they might be thinking of you about your brand in that way. And then just to add to what Taylor was saying about playlists, I've actually used this to really great effect for a very small distribution company. We just started releasing a bunch of themed playlists, and it was for kind of just smaller artists that were doing a lot of video game cover music. So we would say like, all right, here we've got everything Legend of Zelda. Here's this theme that we can go with. And having that kind of theme as you're thinking about doing these ads and where you're targeting. So maybe you have one that's like really hardcore in like dubstep, and then you have another that's kind of a different genre. Thinking about that kind of stuff can help, and you can target different websites and different interests based on your playlist theme.
Yeah, somebody had a question. Andrew, did you want to jump in?
I'll bounce in here. I know Nathan was still asking about the whole, label destination opposed to individual musicians. And I know we just did one of those with Aaron locally here for his internal label. So I think the best approach in regards to doing that is basically, exactly how Monster Cat does it. Obviously, you're not as large as a Monster Cat. You can't get into like, Rocket League placements and all that fun stuff. But thinking in that sense is definitely a great way to start. As far as building these landing pages and such, you could definitely build it around the brand, build a playlist that showcases, to go off of Rebecca's statement of different themes, if you have the ability to do that. Or if it's just like Monster Cat, they have two themes. They've got their lo-fi and then they've got their bass artists. So they've got Silk and they've got Call of the Wild, which they create radio shows behind. But each one of those has their own separate releases that fall under that genre, I guess you could say. And you would have two separate landing pages, which would have those placements and playlists on there. And you can use that in your ad campaign. And you can set up separate ads for each individual release for each unknown artist. If you can notice how many plays you're getting from each individual song from that playlist, it'll definitely help you make those choices of which songs are going to be your features. You create those landing pages and you can create an ad campaign that has multiple ad sets that can alternate between different placements. So it's like, okay, well, we know that this one's getting a lot of click through. Maybe we should focus more on this artist and do an individual artist campaign off of that. So I think that's definitely a great way to build that approach out. While still being able to showcase not only an individual that people may not be familiar with, but the whole label as an entire piece. So that way, maybe they're not interested with what we're putting forward for the initial piece, but if they let it ride, they'll hear another song and then they get sucked in. And then next thing you know, they're going, okay, how can I hear this playlist, or you subscribe to the playlist? And to furthermore dive into that, I know that, for another example, Monster Cat has taken these playlists and made them available 24/7 through live streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. So this is another way for labels to showcase their music as well. There's plugins that allow you to set up folders that you can stream live from a specific folder of videos to YouTube or to Twitch, and just have your artist's music constantly streaming out there for people to listen to whenever they want to. And then you can punch that out there too, promote that. And as they say, always be selling your product. If your product is your label, this is a great way to do so. And to go back to harping onto found.ee a little bit more, these guys have made it very cost effective for you to do that. Rebecca set one up for as little as $50. I go as low as $200 with some of my clients. I had a jazz artist that did extremely well, and that's definitely not one of the stronger placements for found.ee right now. But she broke out quite well and ended up getting a BET placement. So that in and of itself for her was a huge accomplishment. So it's definitely something that when you put in the effort, it'll definitely pay you back. And to spin into another question here, as a Symphonic client, how do you access found.ee? We've actually integrated it into our SMS. Every client has the ability to go in there. You can create short link URLs. You can create any of these things that we've basically said here from the base level package for Found.ee. And then if you want to upgrade to any of these other features or advanced features, it's really easily done right there in the back end. And we can even integrate anything that I've done from you for you individually, if you've done a campaign with me directly, into your account from what I've done. So it's really seamless. You don't have to use your own account, or you can utilize me as you're, getting your feet wet. It's all available to you there. I dare I say the opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I think it's just a click of a button, right? In y'all's dashboard, and like the client dashboard. And to further that, we didn't talk a lot about it, but majority of those tools that we've kind of overviewed and that Rebecca showed you are all free. The only kind of caveats to that are really if you want the custom URL domain for your landing pages or for your short links. So if you want it to be branded to your domain instead of Found.ee. The geo-targeted or geo-segmented landing page tools. So if you have, somebody that's in Brazil, you want them to receive a different landing page using the same link, that's a premium feature. And then the email capture modal, which we didn't even really get into a lot, but we have an direct integration with MailChimp. If you use MailChimp, even if you don't, you could also download, but basically it's an email capture modal that can pop up on your website. That's another premium feature, but everything else we've shown you, or talked about today is all free to use. So highly recommend trying, clicking through from Symphonic, checking it out. I think there was another question I saw, maybe it was Bob that mentioned, does Found.ee
I
offer
just
servers
actually saw that myself.
Yeah, that can put together ads for us. So I don't know how much of these beans we want to spill, Andrew, but we are working on something that will be a little less self-serving in the sense that you won't have to go in and create all of your campaigns. You can have an expert, somebody like an Andrew or somebody on our team that can create one of those ads for you. We're probably still a couple of weeks out on that maybe, but stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have some more details for that very soon.
Yeah, we're definitely looking to have that out within the next few weeks or so, if not probably next month. But it is definitely a fast moving piece right now. And we will have that available for everybody momentarily. So keep an eye on our blog, and we'll put out a press release for it as well, for sure.
Yeah. In the meantime, if there are questions about setting an ad campaign up, obviously, you can reach out to Andrew for his services if you want to hire him for kind of that full service and strategy on all things. But, if you're looking at just running a one-off campaign on Found.ee, feel free to reach out to us and we can kind of help you with that one-off until we have the solution offering that makes it even easier for you to do that. I will add in, Andrew, I know you mentioned the Jazz campaign, and we've just recently rolled out a bunch of new interest-based targeting, one of which is a jazz grouping. I see V Hill is mentioning Team Elevation, which is an inspirational music group. So we also have kind of, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correctly, if that is like inspirational music group, if that's kind of like faith-based, but we also, I have another client that's running some faith-based kind of Christian music campaigns. And so we did just also roll out some new interest-based targeting for that as well. That could be a good option.
Perfect. You did nail it.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And to add to that, looking to drive people to your website and buy merch and things, that's super awesome. Utilizing that short link is a great way to start as well. So just plug in your website into our short link creator, create that short link. You're starting to build your audience. You use it in your ad, keep building your audience and all that. And you can always embed that Shopify store, or if you have another type of embed for your merch, into a landing page as well. So if you're creating a link in bio where you're like, all right, here's our official website, here's where you stream our music on Spotify, here's where you stream our music on Apple Music, and here's all of our merch. That's a really great way to engage those people that you're engaging on socials. They can click that link in bio, purchase right there, and then click out of it, and they don't even need to leave their experience. And then just to add on to that, I know we were talking about Bitly earlier. So there is a little bit of a hack if folks would like to move from a different service to Found.ee. If you already have a bunch of Bitly links and you don't want to necessarily get rid of them, you can actually shorten your bit.ly links through Foundy and you get some data as well. It's not something we recommend doing on a regular basis, but it's a way to kind of quickly change over without totally disrupting what you've got going on.
Yeah. Just looking back through, do we have any other questions?
I think we're at the last 5 minutes here to grab any last straggler questions that we have.
Yeah, one thing I'll add while folks are thinking of some questions, messing around in the platform is really the best way to learn it. I'm definitely a hands-on learner. I don't know about other folks. I feel like for a lot of musicians, that's kind of what we do. We noodle around and jam, and it's kind of the same thing with Foundy. There's not really a wrong way to use these tools. Play around with it, figure out really interesting ways that work for you. No harm. It's not going to hurt anything to just kind of experiment, especially with those free accounts that you get with Symphonic. Oh, interesting. Any experience advertising on Discord? I personally don't have any. Do either of you?
I have not personally ran ads, but I have definitely gotten a lot of experience with Discord personally. Just haven't been able to get anybody, wanting to do a campaign on Discord itself. I've seen a lot of musicians who have created communities on the platform, and it definitely makes sense in regards to those people. Advertising within your own communities and saying, hey, new music's out and stuff like that, because there's only so much you can do with a constantly moving atmosphere, which Discord is. Obviously, if you make it a private board, you can put notifications and announcements however you want to, but it doesn't hit people as strongly as an ad does. So yes and no. I've never launched one. I'm very familiar with it though.
Yeah, I think personally, if I'm on a Discord, I'm usually kind of just interested in the content that is going on in the chat that I'm in. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but I could, from my personal experience, I think if I got an ad, I wouldn't be likely to click, but I don't know much about how their advertising works.
Yeah, I've not ever really looked at advertising on that either.
It's definitely become one of the newer platforms that people have shown interest in, just like Twitch. Obviously, with Twitch through Amazon, it's a little bit pricier for their placements. But with relationships that we have with iHeart and stuff like that, we're able to actually get those to be very similar to like a Foundy relationship, where it's additional inventory that they have that they're able to broadcast ads with. Similar stuff is going on Discord because of the gaming communities, and that's why it's branching over into music and such of that nature. Obviously, people like to game and listen to music, so being able to connect the two worlds is where they're at. As far as successes and stuff like that, it's still very infantile. So being able to have like a case study or something worthwhile is still in the works. But I think we have reached the end of our chat here, unless anybody else has a few more questions to slide across our desk. I think we can send everybody back to their day.
Yep.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
for having
everyone.
us. Yeah, we appreciate y'all.
I appreciate everybody being here. And thanks, Carla, for setting this up for everyone. And thanks for all the great questions. Definitely help keep us all engaged here.
For sure.
Until next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.